Hi there, Josh here from Racing to Profit, obviously. I hope you can hear me. The aim of this video is to talk through a results update, the kind of first one of the new winter season, as we're a couple of weeks in to November and the winter jumps proper. You will see on the blog, which you can hopefully see in front of you, here there's a results post here where this video, or you may be watching it within that post as I speak, but I'm obviously recording it now and it will appear in this results update post part 2 soon. I'm recording this on Monday the 16th in the afternoon, about 3:30. What do I want to start first? I'll flick through some of the results in a minute and touch on the spreadsheet, which you can obviously flick through and pick apart until your heart's content if you so wish. The members post, I mean, it's partly a results update, but I suppose part kind of rewind and introductory video. The first thing to say for you members, if you're logged in, you'll know you're logged in because there'll be a log out button there. Don't forget you can click that dashboard button if you so please, and there's the user guide, which I'm going to open at the second here. There's a change password link, information on cancelling subscription, and of course contact information. You can always get hold of me via email there. Backup, and you obviously can use the comments on the blog post if you need to get in touch. Also, even if it's a simple message, Josh, please email me, which works if the email isn't working, but it usually is. So yeah, there's that post. And yeah, so what I'm going to flick through also on the daily post, you can find at the top in our kind of simple layout for this season, the first three parts are pretty straightforward, and the fourth all sorts kind of follows in that random area of the daily blog post. But don't forget, you've got the various links. So you've got the jumps profiles report, which you can click and open. You can kind of right click and open in new tab or do whatever. So of course that's all the data and information that underpins the jumps profiles qualifiers in section 2, of which there was nothing today on Monday. I'm keeping a running update there of backing all of these angles this year. Were researched without any odds caps quite deliberately, so we don't have to faff about with knowing if a horse technically qualifies on my research or not, and that's something I'll try and do more of, because of course that makes it easier for us all, certainly in terms of timings of when to bet, etc. What else do I want to say about this? Obviously, yeah, if you haven't flicked through this, you're free to do so, of course. There's some information about on the betting bank you could use if kind of backing all. There's the star ratings, and indeed, if kind of attacking them, my 2-3 star ratings, which I'll get onto in a moment. A kind of betting bank for those, I'd like to think of 50 to 75 points will be more than enough for kind of 1 point win, but you can kind of look through some of the results and see how you may wish to play those, if at all, but I'll get onto that. But in that document, it explains my kind of thinking behind the star ratings and the kind of subjective approach, where I look at the jumps qualifiers, which of course are based on trainer stats and trainer information and nothing to do with the quality of the horse. So obviously it would be good if they kind of work backing all, but I quite like looking at them with my own subjective form, profile, race analysis, pace analysis, price eyes, value eyes, and try and apply these different stars, with the hope that kind of the 2 or 3 stars will end up being a kind of good little systematic strategy that we can follow if you so wish for full small stakes, and with any luck over a season would, for example, cover your subscriptions to even just £5 bets, which would be happy days indeed. So you have, yes, you've got that link there, which of course you can flick through, and many of you may well have done so already. There's the punting pointers bit here as well, and they do actually open in a new tab when you click them, which is always useful. Yeah, if you've been around for a long time, which plenty of you have, you'll know that a big ethos of what I do on the blog is to try and present information and stats and research and talk about races and previews and horses and these kind of videos and other bits and pieces to try and all make us better punters. And me personally, by posting my thoughts in live play for 5-6 years, whatever it is now, since the blog started, you get better in time by doing that. But the idea is for us all, I suppose, to go on a journey to try and be better punters, kind of continual improvement and better punters down the line. And so this kind of punting pointers document is aimed and designed to give you some ideas for helping you to try and solve the puzzle and shortlist and kind of find your own winners, I suppose, because ultimately I think having an element of picking your own horses is, it makes the game more stimulating. I think the winners you find yourself, I suppose, are the most enjoyable you'll back. Very much my drive for the big race tips, which I'll get onto in a moment, is solving the puzzle. There's nothing monetary. I could bet £2, I could bet 50, whatever. I kind of just like being right. And I like attacking those hardest of class 2+ puzzles and trying to identify the right value selections and cheer them when they occasionally cross the line in front. So yeah, that is a buzz, and I thought this document would be useful. So do flick through it, do print it off, keep it to your right hand, keep it to your side next to your computer, laptop, tablet, handy if you want. But I think there's some useful things in here, certainly using the horse race base ratings, which are the red symbols, and they're explained. Certainly for any of the stats content, even the tips. If you follow the tips, I would follow them. But that's not to say you can't follow them with a benchmark level and then look at them and take your own view and decide whether to kind of upgrade or have a bit more on, for example. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong, of course, with flicking through the excellent, numerous comments and shrewdy words from the masses to see if there might be musings down there that you might want to use as a weigh-in. So there's different ideas here. There's the horse race base ratings for obviously my stats content, which may be some kind of guide. Of course, you can use this kind of thing for racing and your approach to racing more generally. You've got position in the weights, and that's to do with the race card, handicap hurdles, handicap chases, split by field size, number of runners, market position. We can all try and be a bit too clever, I suppose, at times, and I could be accused of that in certain races for sure. Always something to improve on there. But, there's different things there you can look at. Last time out winners, race, pace and race position. There are some decent kind of free pace maps, I think, at the likes of at the races, probably some other places as well. I use GG's Gold Plenty, as you know. If you're a free registered user with them, you can get free pace tabs on a couple of days for all races, I think, as an example. But whatever you do, if you like finding your own winners, solving your own puzzle, or having an element of that in your punting through a season or a week or whatever, the importance of pace and race position can't be kind of underestimated. And if there's one thing I would implore you to add to your puzzle solving repertoire or your analytical repertoire, it would be pace and race position, and trying to understand that and use that as part of the puzzle solving process. What else should I say? There's some other ideas there. I just think many of you have flicked through these documents already, but different things on trainer form, etc., etc. So if you do want to kind of, or have any kind of ambition or want to be a better punter and find more winners or find more value bets, I suppose one thing I would say is maybe start with handicap chases, just because of the importance of pace and race position, and focus on those who you think might lead or race prominently. And that's always, through any day in race card, a decent starting point and foundation. Would kind of probably give a decent shortlist to look at as an example. So there's that. What else do I want to say? Yes, then you've got the user guide, which I opened a bit earlier. Not that one, that's the Jumps Profile Report. do look at that. There's a video on the joining up, signing up process if you want. I mean, obviously you might be watching that having already joined and signed up, of course, but it talks through a few different things in turn, including changing passwords, lost passwords, how you can change them, etc. if you want. There's links to the resources there. Some of them I've just touched on. Then there's a bit on betting banks, losing runs. We all have losing runs. Certainly in big race, I mean, there isn't a big race analyst or tipster I know from my various circles, and I won't mention names, that over certain periods will drop a lot of points before roaring back, and it is kind of the nature of the beast at times that profit can come in spikes. Mainly that's because certainly big races, but if you look at this table, this is the strike rate kind of winning percentage of whatever method you have, your own tips, and always important to keep your own records, your own bets as well, just to get an idea on win percentage, because that will give you a rough idea on the maximum likely losing runs per 1,000 bets. That's worth knowing, it's worth absorbing, and realizing that backing a lot of losers is normal. If you target big races, which I do, you're going to struggle to get a higher win percentage than between 10 and 15%. That means every now and then, and I have, and I will again, you will have losing runs between 40 and 66. You then may back a few winners. You make back a few winners, do all right, and then hit another one of those before you then go on a wonderful, glorious, big profit run. As an example, this losing runs are unavoidable, which is why betting banks are important, and making sure you start off small, build up over time. Do not dive in with an amount of money that you're not happy or comfortable to lose, and that can ensure you're still here in 6 months' time, you're still here in a year's time. Not here as in my blog, although I hope you will be, but here as in the game, enjoying racing week to week, day to day. And the only way to do that is to make sure you kind of set yourself up properly, I suppose. So read some of that on betting banks. We've all made mistakes before. We've all dived in betting too much before. I certainly did. Certainly at university days, thinking banks would never be lost. Always think the bank could be blown and will be gone, and adjust stakes and points and amount of money accordingly. Very, very important, because losing runs are unavoidable, however good or bad you may be. And that's important to kind of note and absorb. So yeah, do flick through that as well. Of course, this kind of the next results video won't be this long, because I won't need to do this kind of intro thing, but it's the first time, since the season started, I've kind of talked in this way with some kind of results to look at as well in live play from this season, this winter jump season. There's information there, of course, on when the blog posts go up and different bits and pieces. So yeah, fairly short and sweet for me. Do read that, do absorb, and yeah, take on board, because that will ensure you get the most out of your jumps racing experience, both within my blog and outside, and more generally speaking. So that's that. I should move on to talking about some results, I suppose. So yes, we've got the results post up. As I tick round to 13.5 minutes, I will try and keep this under 2025. So yeah, you can click on that results post. Obviously, that's free to wear. Some of you may be watching this on YouTube. This video, there's various different results there. You can, there's the spreadsheet, it's not blank. You can kind of move around in that. You can click this box to the right hand side here, and that will open up in full screen like this. And you can flick through all of the results for the different bits. There's my tips there. There's Adam's tips there, as you can see, from the first through down, etc. What else have we got? Month to month. Yeah, obviously these will be updated at the end of November. This is for the different stats elements, and I'll touch on the kind of main bits. We're keeping track of how the horse race base ratings are doing, those red symbols next to different stats qualifiers. So that's top rated jumps profiles, those that have a 2-3 next to their name. We carried over this for that. I'm not thinking I'm doing before, but yeah, the kind of top 3 horse race base rate, which links back to that document I showed you, the punting point as well, information about the horse race base ratings. Only ever a guide and things. They don't seem to work systematically with my stats as such, but just added information. I like to keep an eye on how the results do. There's a week to week across the different angles, everything recorded to kind of advised price with the stats at kind of generally available prices at 8 a.m. and Betfair starting price. You can keep an eye on those various different things. So yeah, we've got that there. So that spreadsheet will open up so you can look through the different bits and pieces, and yeah, updated already today with today's tip from Leicester. So yeah, you can see the results there. Look through that as much as you want. There's advised odds, starting price, and Betfair starting price. Of course, the aim for any of us in this game long term is to back horses at a bigger price than they're sent off at, and if you consistently over time beat starting price, your betting bank can only ever head in one way, and even more so if you're kind of consistently beating Betfair starting price. But in some of the races we play in and our value-wise are clearly working so well at the moment, both Adam and I, and particularly Adam, that they're doing well to Betfair SP, which is very good news, of course, to all of you who may not have any betting accounts left because you are so shrewd. What else do I want to say? The portfolio, or I should say if you've run out of friends and family or anyone else. But moving on to what I've called the portfolio. So we kind of have three strands. I know at the beginning of this video I was talking about the importance, for my mind, or in my opinion anyway, and you may disagree, that importance of having an element where you try and solve the puzzle yourself, or you're finding horses to back yourself. Hopefully, like I said, using plenty of the information in the daily post, whether it's the stats qualifiers, the chats, the write-ups, the comments, your own thoughts, using bits and pieces, using that punting pointers report, and looking at other races and everything else. But you know, while that's important and an element to kind of stay in the game and stay happy actually, and get a kind of satisfactory buzz as regularly as we can get it, of course, having a winning tipping element, certainly to any service, if I'm so privileged to receive your hard-earned money for it, myself and Adam, is to provide a profitable kind of advisory tipping element over the season, which is the aim, and a daily feature, which is why I brought the expert pro punter, best jump size I have found, and certainly jumps mind, even more so for day-to-day racing, and particularly up north, is Adam Norman. And like I said, many of you may have watched his videos on his interviews with Star Sports that Simon Knott does, and they're all, I think they're called Betting People, aren't they? And they're all worth a watch. Give that a Google if you want. There's videos galore to flick through there. And that's a good fun resource, and something to whirl away a few hours if you want. In any case, you can see Adam's results there from the 1st of November to the 16th. 29 selections, 8 wins, 13 places. What are we? 27.5% win percent, 45% win and place. Obviously, it's early days. The ROI is what? Something like 90%, isn't it? I should add that down. But yeah, plus 44. Two advised is solid, obviously. Sorry, that was up to the 15th, so I need to add, update that, sorry, I will do that. So yeah, that was up to the 15th, not including Leicester's, so I'll knock 2 off there, but yeah, back down to plus 42, which is obviously very, very good, and if Adam repeated that every 30 odd bets, we would be cock-a-hoop, obviously. Some realism, well, you know, he does play a bit, and he has very good value eyes near the top of the market. So it's likely that win percent, it might drop a bit, but might be kind of 22 to 25% longer term. And yeah, that will kind of stay around there. But, you know, going back to that table of win percentage and likely losing runs, Adam will drop 20, 30, 40 points from a high point at some point. probably through this season. And if and when he stays in seasons to come, that is going to happen. And again, that's why betting banks are important. But his efforts, because of that win percentage, are going to be far less choppier than mine, which in part is by design, because I'm too mad for my own good. But my own satisfaction from the puzzle solving element that I've talked about is attacking big races, is attacking the difficult handicaps. I don't know why, I just always have enjoyed doing so, especially chases, and that's where I get my buzz. A big game player for Saturdays and festivals, maybe, that's what history would suggest. And at last, thankfully, after a wonderful Cheltenham 3-day open meeting, dragged back into profit, I'm delighted with the win and play strike rate. If I can keep that in the kind of 40% area, I know the profit is only going to head one way over time. And there's been a few unlucky horses. I can touch on them in a moment, but that's, that's racing. No need to get the violins out. Everything evens out over time. Unlucky falls at the last, bad errors, jockey errors. I will back winners that benefit from all of those things, although I would have liked a few more to have been booted home in the last couple of weeks, but let's not grumble too much. Again, more profitable to Betfair SP, which may be more likely given the kind of races I target in, possibly. So yes, there's the tips, and like I said, you can flick through them in the spreadsheet. Then, so that's the two tipping elements of the portfolio. And I've chucked in, I suppose now, because they're going well, the 2 or 3 star rated. I always want there to be a successful systematic stats element, and after much trial and error and tribulation and pondering ways to do it, it looks like now I'm kind of relieved myself from daily tipping agony and trying to turn myself into something I'm not. And because I've got the expert Adam on board, I can focus more of attention at the back end of the week with a fresh brain and fresh eyes on big race tipping. But day to day I can analyse the stats qualifiers a bit better and apply my subjective star ratings, and we can look how well they've done. I had them as making more money than more points profit than they had. Now I've checked the results properly, I kind of missed off October's and found some profit from elsewhere that didn't exist, it seems. So the total for my qualifiers, so this is horses in section 2 of the daily members posts. Tipping is section 1, then the jumps, profiles, qualifiers. Those that have 2 or 3 stars next to them, the diamonds, the diamond rated, 2 or 3 of those, from kind of 25th of October when I introduced them through to 16th of November, 32 bets, 9 wins, 24 places, including wins. 75% win and play strike rate, which is obviously a bit balmy. That is not going to be sustained, but there have been a few kind of seconds or thirds that on another day may have won, and that profit power would look even better, but that ROI is clearly solid. This is to 1 point win bets. All of the stats, results and updates in the spreadsheets and with the star ratings are to 1 point win. Obviously, the place percentages here may give you options to take a different kind of each way approach if you wanted, maybe. But I'm really happy, obviously, as you would be with the results like that, of how they're going, and the jumps profiles as research, as trainer research, which I quite like, obviously, because I researched it, but the logic and the ideas behind those 15 trainers, I'm ever hopeful they will continue to churn out horses that are overpriced and more winners and placed. The 1 star picks, if you read through the jumps profiles report, those links like I showed at the top of the blog, that's limited confidence. I kind of do want to get them beat to a point. I've got 2 wrong, which are both trained by Venetia Williams. Tut tut, that's about 14 points I could have added onto this bit. So some work to do there, but they're meant to be limited confidence. Like going back to something I said at the beginning, the jumps, profiles, qualifiers are based on the trainer, nothing to do with the quality of the horse or the horse's chance in the context of the race they are in today, which is why I kind of, use horse race based ratings as some kind of guide. but also why I thought it would be useful if I pulled my finger out now I've got some mental space and time in the day, and to try and find a profitable, systematic approach with them by looking at them using how I analyze races and giving them some kind of confidence measure, one being limited and two or three making me think, they've got a fair chance on how I look at races. And so far, so good on that front. And, the 1 stars, yeah, 2 from 33, 6 places, minus 17.5. That's not to say if I've got 1 star next to a horse, do not be put off backing it. If you look at it, like it, think I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong in the comments. That's all welcome. All polite criticisms welcome in these parts. Say I think you're wrong, Josh. That should be 2 stars, by all means. And yeah, obviously I will get some wrong. I'll get more wrong in the future, and I might get a big one wrong, big price one wrong at some point. But as an aside anyway, separate to that, the 2 and 3 stars, I'm pretty confident as I can be, that I will make that work over a season. And again, from this point, I'm talking in 16th of November. From here on in, if I can win another 30 to 50 points with these stars, I would bite your hand off right now, because at £5 a point, that obviously covers your subscription, and then all of this profit, hopefully, fingers crossed, and anything that you find yourself using the content and the comments and everything else will make it one hell of a spectacular season. So yes, I think that's that for the results. Hopefully I've said something, as always, of interest buried in there somewhere. I could, and I might, if you want to continue listening to me go on, just focus on, I won't focus on too many of Adam's tips, not in terms of performance, but obviously not in terms of his performance, the horses, and I'm doing this live. I'm actually just flicking through, trying to get an idea on how they went. Steady Away, Santon, I'm doing this from mental recall. The ground went there. It was not as advertised. They said good, I think, good to soft. In that race, it looked like it was blooming hot deep, very soft. So they might be worth noting, because I think part of Adam's reasoning from memory was they may like decent ground. Everlane's travelled well in that chase. She hit a few fences. I wonder if she wants a smaller field, maybe a more prominent ride, maybe a flatter track. I'm not sure. I'd need to check her record. She's still well handicapped and has chases in her. There's various different things. Going Mobile, didn't find much for pressure from memory. What else as I kind of flicked through down here? We had Not a Role Model kind of win at 20 to 1 from the front. That was a joy to watch. Should be better going left-handed. Don't forget the form of Sam Thomas, now 6 from 10, 9 places in the last 14 days as I speak, and I managed to land on one of his at Cheltenham, thankfully. What else can I say? We had Leo Star, hacked up and looks chucked in still, but probably won't be 3s or 4s next time. Phlegmatic was badly hampered twice. You can ignore that performance. He's clearly a nice horse, worth keeping an eye on in the trackers. He ran into the back of one early, I think, and then twice had to avoid horses who unseated riders. Not a Chance looks like a potential sort of national horse moving forward. Lovely performance at Bangor. Be interesting to see what Alan does with him. I wouldn't be shocked if he had the Ayr Scottish National on his radar, maybe, or the Midlands National if it wasn't too much of a bog. But he's a nice horse. He has a lovely way of going. He's a very, very good jumper, not to curse him, but he seems to do it all fairly naturally, and that should stand him in good stead. And he's one of those horses that races just behind the pace, which is never a bad place to be. Crickus, however you pronounce that escape, was it Gillian Bonas, wasn't it? Whose name probably I haven't pronounced correctly either. Apologies. Look at the way he travelled through that. You do like when they travel like that, because you kind of know they're going to be bang there at the business end. Sidi Ismail kind of bumped into one, ran his race. Probably no excuses there. What else do I want? Dance with the Wind. decent. Hopefully you had best odds guaranteed. Results aren't recorded to best odds guaranteed, but he did drift from 5-2 to 11-2. Arthur's Gift received a poor ride, I thought, from Zach Baker. I know he's inexperienced. Watch that again. We had Storm Control as a 2-star winner at sixes who received an unbelievable ride from Richard Patrick. So I'm not quite sure the horse stayed fully, which is a funny thing to say, but he was on fumes come the line. But he had drawn enough errors and track position out of the rest of them that he just managed to cling on and keep the gallop up. Arthur's Gift, Zach tried to live with Richard Patrick and took Arthur's Gift out of his comfort zone for about a circuit and a half, 2 circuits, I think. He didn't like that. And by the time they got to the second last, he just knackered it. It was his first run of the season as well. His mark will drop a bit. I think he's been a bit in and out, but he definitely has another muddy handicap chasing him at his level, probably class 3 or so. But he was just taken out of his comfort zone for a good circuit and a half there and asked to go a stride quicker than I think he wanted to, and was just thrown at his fences too hard. So hopefully that hasn't kind of soured him. When You're Ready, Fredo, John Joe Jr., he could have kept wide, got the rail where the winner eventually come up if you watch that. He was staying on all the way to the line. He probably wanted a bit of a faster pace. John Joe, I should think, jumped off after that and thought I should have got after him a lot sooner. But they're the kind of split-second decisions you have to make. So a few thoughts on those off the top of my head. Over to mine. Started off well. First kind of tip of the new season, new me in a way. New redesign blog, Adam on board from the 1st of November. New approach to the stats, daily stats content with the jumps profiles, and all round, having moved back to Suffolk and the Suffolk air after 13 years in Liverpool, probably slightly happier. And where your mind at in the race analysis tipping world is always important, especially if you're blogging. To a few hundred pairs of eyes always helps. So the first one, T-Clipper, did quite well. Court Master, clouted the last, or didn't take it fluently, and would have won if it had jumped that fluently. Then we had Brian Barana, stopped backing him. Joshua, Beat the Judge needs... have I backed him twice now? I have. Oh dear, we better not fling ourselves off the cliff fully. He needs 2 mile 4, so I'll probably fling myself off the cliff when he's put up to 2 mile 4 now, which I kind of thought after that run, but still backed him again. Silly boy. So yes, he needs 2.5 miles by the looks of things, but they still got wins in him. Champagne Court is turning into a disappointing horse. Never went a yard in the Badger Rails. He's cut out now 3 or 4 last runs. I think he's got issues. Be interesting to see what his trainer thinks. He should be a really nice 3-mile chaser on decent ground. But not as yet. Manila Warrior hasn't taken the chasing, didn't run that well here. I think he's got handicap hurdles in him if they keep him to timber. Cloth Cap needs decent ground. He's not going to get it now, is he? He's going to be chucked in when he gets 3 miles 2, 3 miles 4 or further on decent ground. I'm not quite sure if he's going to be up to national level quality, but he's owned by Trevor Hemmings. They'll hope he can get there. And of course, he was running on 3rd or 4th, was he, in the Scottish National when very inexperienced. So maybe they'll send him back there, where he would have a good chance off his current mark. Have I played in Vets Chases a bit too much this season so far? Probably, but they just lure you in, don't they? Because there are old favourites and you just want to have a go and see if we can find something. What More on Another Day may have won, but Regal Encore was not for passing in his favourite track, so fair play to him. Valtor didn't run very well. Malaya has another boggy, heavy, nothing else can go through it. Ascot handicap hurdle in her, but she bumped into a decent one of Anthony Honeyball's, no excuse there. Scaramanga needs decent ground. I backed at 12s. He went off at 10-3. I think there was a 10p rule for 15, but he does need very good ground. And he's decent ground. He's well handicapped, I think, when he gets his condition. So he's one to note. Doing this off the top of my head, that was the Venetia Williams, wasn't it? Vets Chase, Aintree, Didn't run very well. Handicap mark is probably too high and is overrated possibly, and maybe just not as good as that, although he did stop fairly quickly. Potterman unlucky, lacks a bit of scope, very much a summer jumper, possibly better in a small field where he's under less pressure, can measure his fences, maybe they can make all. He still has more handicap chases in him, but needs decent ground, and he can, he's not the biggest, and I don't think he's going to get any bigger. Some Chaos the handicapper may have him now. Single farm payment. This is the only time I've ever tipped him, actually. There'll be people listening to this who've probably backed him many times at Cheltenham, hopefully each way. Wise bet, because he does run his race. He travelled and loomed up there as if he was going to win, and then stopped as if he needed a run. He didn't stop as if he's got an attitude problem, which I don't think he does. He just, when he has to really battle in the last half of furlong, heads up, heads down, maybe he's a bit soft. He's trying, but maybe a bit soft. And that wasn't attitude for how he ran here. That was very much, he did run as a cutout, so maybe they're aiming at the final, where he'd probably be a good each way bet, because he's very well handicapped and was good enough to place in much better handicaps than Vets chases only last season. Brother Ted questions, beat the judge, Ballywood. Flat track now, I've decided. Decent ground. Definitely has more handicap chases in him over 2.5 miles, maybe smaller field. He travels strong, just behind the pace. I think the ground was probably a lot softer than advertised, actually, on this day. Maybe he hated it. He's going to be on his last winning mark after this, I should think. Spirit of the game's very good, solid, needs everything to drop right, and the handicapper, because he always runs so well, he's just forever in the grip of the handicapper. Brelenda didn't run very well. I need to watch it back. I'm not sure if he clouded the fence or two. Gumball, poor Gumball. He's up. He lives to fight another day, which is the main thing. Dickie Johnson, none the worse. He was tanking and he would have won, and I won't hear it any other way, but you do have to jump. So we could have had a 13.5 swing on that. So we could be nearly 21 points. We could be nearly 18 points up or so in profit, but we're not, and everything evens itself out. But that was painful. Good little Cheltenham. Finally nice to hit some form. Long-suffering readers will know when I get in a burst, I can have a real good burst. So I'll hope that we have another real good burst soon. I've had a 90-point January before. We've had 90-point and 80-point festival weeks before in the last 3 or 4 years. And 50-point months and all sorts. So we shall see what place my head is at, and if we can now kick on with confidence brimming, which it is, and see if we can add to this nice little run here. On the blind side, having said, Gumball, I'm not sure if he didn't see the fence. His stride looked fine. I'm not going to blame the jockey. I thought he did everything right. See a stride, ask him, jump, didn't lift his feet up. Possibly because that's novice. His brain, the wires weren't kind of touching or flicking. I'm not quite sure. Ramses Dite, wonderful. Yalarenki in that ran much better than I thought. I thought he looked a bit fat pre-race. Maybe my fitness judgment eyes need some work. Maybe that's what he always looks like, just because he's a big, rotund horse. Bryony, brilliant ride on the inside, tracking round. Saved every yard. Other jockeys clearly thought the ground was better, wider. How he went here would suggest that was nonsense. So great run from Yalarenki, and he ran better than I thought, and he looks like he's still got races in him somewhere, even if at some point it's into the vet series. Obviously that's always an option now for a horse that stays 3 miles well at his age. So they'll have some fun with him. Bryony clearly gets on with him well, and races probably in Leeds, he will win more races. It'll be interesting to see at what level, though. So Psycho's turning into a disappointing horse, 4-year-old. That Triumph Hurdle form, bar those that were near the front, I suppose is always a bit questionable, as it always is, actually. Horses progressing kind of 3 to 4. Obviously he's 4 now. Has he has he developed? We shall see. He had his ground there. That was fairly disappointing. Maybe he needs another year to mature and he's going to be okay as a 5-year-old. Ballyandy's ran a cracker, massive weight. All the horses around him had nothing on their backs. Really good performance. In hindsight, each way, I mused about it in the write-up, but going each way for a 15-2 shot, when I remember I'm now limiting myself to 2 points maximum per race I study. That's for various reasons, to try and level out some of my up and down choppy variants, and maybe to make me focus a bit more, and to make me use each way bets in a much better way than I ever have done before. Just to try and get a return a bit more often, maybe, and make sure we're not so bumpy through a season, and take a bit less profit over that season, but maybe enjoy the ride a bit more than arguably we did do last season. And good risk at all. We finished as I tick round to 40 minutes. As I told you, another short video here from me. Sam Thomas, brilliant form, wonderful ride from Sam Twiston-Davies. Always take note, it seems, when Sam Thomas books Twister. I think that's now 4 from 14, 8-9 places. Of course, this one was owned by Di Walters, I think, who has a few with Big Nige, of course, as well. So that was a decent performance. And yeah, a lot of these I've been fairly consistent. As big races go, plenty in the places, and I'm in a good place. We're all in a good place. Adam's in a great place. I'm in a great place. The stats are in a great place. You good folk in the comments are in a great place. The place is buzzing. The place is alive. Most of you watching this will be on the free 30-day trial. There may be some of you watching this on YouTube or from the email that I'll send out, or on Twitter. And if you haven't joined us, the masses having a fantastic jump season so far that we're all going to try desperately to kick on with and have plenty of fun along the way, do head to the blog. Link below the video, a link in my Twitter profile or whatever, and click on Become a Member. You can go to what is quite bluntly a sales page, read through that, watch another video, click the link and join us for a 30-day free trial if you want, and you get all of that content and all of that profit with me trying to steer the ship as best I can. I mean, just look at the comments: 31 today, 49 on the 15th, 32, 38. The Erasing the Profit tribe and community is one of the best things, if not the best thing about this blog. And it's so much fun enjoying racing with all the good folk who say hello, and indeed all of those, the wide, vast majority who do not. So with that said, I will be quiet now. Thanks for watching. I hope this video, as I've touched on numerous things, is of some entertainment, of some use. And if you're not part of the Members Club, risk-free, 30 days, nothing to lose. Click the link below the video, click a link somewhere, head to the blog, become a member, and come and join us, because you've got nothing to lose and potentially an awful lot to gain. And until the next time, this is Josh saying happy punting, best of luck with all of your bets as always. Until the next time, this is me saying over and out, and bye for now.